Hey guys, good evening. I hope this is a great end of the week for you. It's Friday night, and I hope you've managed your time well. The topic for this live session is time management for engineers. Before we start the topic, we received a lot of questions, and we'll go through all of them. Plus, if you're live and you have questions, we'll definitely take them. But let me introduce the three people on this call. We have Arnav. He's a famous YouTuber. You may have seen him with many funky expressions doing videos. Uh, Before that, he's also co-founder of Coding Blocks, and he graduated from DTU where he was participating in a lot of hackathons. Uh, if you ever have a problem in the Zomato app, please blame him. He was the engineering lead. You can go to his LinkedIn, send him a message, send him the bug, and he will run away from you. So that is Arnav for you. We hope to hear a lot of tips and tricks on his engineering journey so he can help all of us become better engineers. Thanks for being here, Arnav. Uh, and we'll happily roast you. So the other person on this call is Bhavik. He's smiling very widely. Uh, Unlike Arnav, Bhavik is not a software engineer, but like Arnav, Bhavik is an engineer. He was in IIT Madras, where he spent the first couple of years trying to get a lot of grades, and the next couple of years trying to run away from grades. He started his career in BCG, which is a management consulting firm, and he went around looking at oil and gas pipes to understand what is happening, did not understand it, so moved on to Bain Capital, where he spent a lot of his time in very intimate surroundings with Microsoft Excel, building financial models for big companies with small decimal digits. And the third person on this call is me. My name is Yash. Unlike Arnav, I'm not a software engineer. Unlike Bhavik, I'm not an engineer. I actually did economic psychology from St. Xavier's College in Mumbai. I started my career as a management consulting in McKinsey, where I worked on projects as far-fetched as tourism to tiles on the floor. And then I worked a little bit in New York City, where I was in the World Trade Center office, but I would look down at night, and other than the view, it was many sleepless nights. So we've all struggled with a lot of time management issues in the last 5 to 10 years of working. And in this particular session, we would love to share with you a few things we have discovered, which we hope will help you become the best engineer you can be. Great. So let's get started. No delays. Arnav, we received a lot of questions, and because I will prioritize first with you and then Bhavik, we'll go around the list of questions. We'll keep it 2 to 3 minutes per question. Uh, the first question is for you, Arnav, and that has come in through our community on Discord and various other platforms. And the question is, particularly right now when you're in work from home setting, how do you manage your time when there is no defined start point and end point, and often you may not have energy left for any coding practice, for example? So this was a coder that asked us this question. So the question for you, Arnav.
Okay. No. It's a very pertinent question actually. I have asked that question to myself as well when the work from home period started, and I think it's interesting that although the question is about time management, the answer lies in compartmentalization for me. When this whole pandemic started and everything was happening work from home, I used to just sit on my bed and work, and slowly that started to impact mental health, and it started to impact like the way time is getting managed for me as well. So I think the biggest solution to that has been creating the office mode and the home mode for me. Although office is within my bedroom now, and in fact, for a long period of time, the initial 6 7 months, what I did is very strictly started, actually living in another room where like go there to sleep, to eat, to do any other non-work activity, and actually have the workplace separate, so that the boundaries are created that okay, this is my work time, this is non-work time, and then separate that out. Um, that was there. The other thing is, I think, about not having time to do certain things for yourself, which also I faced. And I realized that, context switching is really harmful in terms of time management. Like if you have a 12 to 1 meeting, and then you have a 3 to 4, say, meeting, and then those are about some management topic, or, project management, setting up product goals or something. In between, you think 1 to 3, I will do some, deep dive into debugging. But at 2:45, you have almost found out a certain bug, and you are really deep into it, and then you suddenly like, oh, I need to prep for 5 minutes before that 3 p.m. call. So that entire time you have spent from 1 to 2:45, that goes waste because you will have to do that context build up once again when you do that. So there I started, very deliberately putting in some constraints that Fridays, Wednesdays, no meetings at all. Talk to my manager at work, talk to my team, and we start trying to figure out a way around that. That we need to have like days where we are going to be doing deep work. No meetings on that day. Then even the days where there are meetings. Uh, one responsibility that comes to me being like a team lead is also to take a lot of interviews whenever we are hiring, and in tech everybody's always hiring. So try to align all the interview calls on the same day, and then not do any broader project management, product goal setting, work distribution in the team. These kind of meetings then compartmentalize that different day, because then you are like, okay, today I am in a interviewing mode today. That's what I'm going to be thinking about. If there is a lot of, so another thing that happens is I felt like I'm doing a interview, and then just the call before that was around some strategy discussion. The next call again, continuation of that with some other people. So during the interview, I get distracted. Okay, I need to think about this other thing, writing something on the doc, and then not focusing on the interview. The interview then goes longer because I'm not jotting down the notes properly. So this compartmentalization has largely helped a whole lot in terms of having time to do our own things as well, and not feeling that I'm just running out of time all the time.
Wow. So you're actually saying this is interesting. I want to bring in Bhavik as well, because what you're saying is your compartmentalization to manage work from home schedule at work is both physical, where there's a spatial separation between, let's say, your bedroom and where your workstation is, and also
Even
very, very
clothes, even clothes. Like
calendar.
I prefer wearing a different set of clothes when I'm working. Yeah,
Are these Friday 9 p.m. work clothes, or uh, what
these
clothes
are
are these?
scalar YouTube clothes. Very compartmentalized.
So basically, put borders is the takeaway from Arnav. And I think it's interesting you brought up the debugging point, because the rhythm of work then for Bhavik, you will be very different. And the other question we received, which is very much in line with that, is if you are planning your work, Bhavik, in a week, and you're trying to find that same rhythm that Arnav is,
Yeah,
how do you plan the workflow so that you meet your many deadlines?
yeah. No, that's a good question. I think a week started well is much more likely to succeed, right? So you want to start that off really well. And I think the key is to really know the kind of person you are. Different hacks for different people. I can share some of mine, but caveating it first with the kind of person I am. Right? I'm a kind of person who likes to have visibility on their week upfront. Broad contours of it doesn't have to be nth level detail. इस slot में ये होना है, but broad contours should be known. I think that predictability helps. And secondly, I'm a kind of person who likes to make lists. So my hack towards starting my week is actually maintaining two lists. The first list is sort of a master list. That's all the projects I have ongoing in my life or projects I want to start in my life. And this is not just professional, it's also personal. So that's sort of the master list, right? Within each project, you have a set of things you want to do, not the nth level detail again, not I need to send a mail to Yash, I need to have a call with Arnav. It's more, hey, these are the outputs you need to get to, do XYZ analysis, make ABC document, think about XYZ. That's the master list. Every Monday morning, I make a new list, which is this week's list. And within that list, then I start shifting or copying things from my master list, which I want to focus on in that week. Now, early on in my career, that prioritization, which points do you move from your master list to your this week's list, was critical. And I would, try to use all kinds of funky frameworks, impact, effort, criticality, yada, yada, yada. Over time, it gets more intuitive as you start doing it more often. You start consciously solving for certain constraints. So now I just shift things from this master list to this week's list proactively every Monday morning. And then it's a matter of every day looking at that list, adding new things, removing things. There's a lot of satisfaction in striking out items. The satisfaction you get from crumpling pieces of paper with your to-dos and throwing them in the bin, trying to replicate that virtually. So that's sort of my rhythm. Every Monday morning, look at your master list, add it to your this week's list. Then on a daily basis, revisit it, add new things, remove old things. end your week with relooking this list, moving everything back to your master list, and reflecting what did you do right, what did you do wrong. So that's sort of an ideal week's rhythm. Some weeks have it, some weeks don't, but that's sort of my ideal picture.
Got it. So you've built basically a set of systems in
Mm-hmm.
terms of lists, and then you strike and then create new, and then even if it's the new thing is the same, sometimes it gives a feeling of completion. So I think
Yeah, it does. You
that's a
solve
good
for
hack.
little delights. And for coders out there, I mean, it's sort of you don't want to live life only first in, first out, or last in, first out. You want to have control. It's important to know what your stacks look like. So controlling your stack and getting delight out of removing things from the stack is sort of what I solve for.
Got it, got it. So micro specification and then you optimize. Amazing, amazing. I actually, we had a question from the community, but we also have the same question right now from Anuradha and Saurabh, which is around the question of, the theme of, so Anuradha's question is, if you get excited and you enroll for a class and get exhausted, many stuff is half done. Saurabh's question is, how do you decide the percentage of time to give to personal learning while working in a company? I think the theme that we can address as a question is, and I'd let any of you start. How do you manage work and learning? Because both take time and both need to be done.
Yeah. I think managing work and learning together, especially in really fast environments like startups, is really key. Yash, why don't you start that one? Because you, amongst us three, I think you're the most active, proactive learner.
Right. Thanks for putting me on the spot. Basically, I think that there's two ways to look at learning. In that, I think we look at the second way, not the first way. In my head, the first way of learning is just capturing new insights and lessons from the people around you that you're working with, the projects and topics that you're working on, and the situations you're exposed to. So, for example, with people, no matter who I'm working with, they most likely know something about some topic that I don't. Situations can be some particular kind of conflict or new type of discovery with finance or tech or marketing and sales. And topics can be something around, let's say, how do you build a whole lead funnel, or how do you think about the user flow in the free product? So because those are happening anyway in the work, I try to capture that and just go 10% deeper to understand more about why. Ask two whys and then I understand a little bit. That's one way of learning, which gives me lesser guilt because I'm not doing much proactive. The second way is actually then following proactively. Like maybe that's what you're referring to, Anuradha. Following proactively a rhythm to learn outside of your work, outside of the people, the tasks, and the situations you're exposed to at work, which, by the way, you should do in the first place by capturing data and learnings. It's ready available resource. Why let situations go? On the other end, I think I personally believe that for me, learning is a creative process, more creative than analytical. So I find chunks of time. Typically in the week, I dedicate about 15 minutes in the morning for micro learning of topics that I like. Some apps that I use are, for example, brilliant.org. Uh, and then I also find other particular apps like Skillshare on very small topics. Uh, the other bigger topics I sort of keep away and then do over the weekend. So I'll watch a bunch of YouTube videos on a topic that I want to learn, which may not have anything related to my productivity, called space tourism. I'll go watch 10 videos on it over the weekend because I think YouTube has these many funky topics as well. So broadly, those two things, I try to capture the learnings that come my way organically through people that I'm exposed to at work, through tasks and through situations. And otherwise, I do micro learning in the morning every day for 10-15 minutes, as well as bigger topics of curiosity on the weekend. So that's a little bit. Thank you for putting me on the spot, Bhavik. Uh, Saurabh's question is still not answered, which is there a minimum percentage time? And I think this is interesting because, Arnav, I'm sure as a software engineer, as you've been working more and growing in your career, you need to deliver more, but you also need to upskill in parallel. So you need to have percentage of time. So how did you manage that balance as you managed your fast growth?
Interesting, and you're completely correct that learning plays a very key role there. So what I feel is that now this is very personal and it's contextualized towards my journey, but I have always felt that uh, in total in my life, I always try to spend actually 50% of the time on learning and 50% of the time on building things, creating things, whether it's necessarily at work or there have been a lot of phases in my career where I've been not actually working somewhere. I've been sort of on break and then doing some side projects, something like that. Now, when at a work kind of environment, what I feel is that there you should do a 80-20 rule, that you spend 80% of your actually the time that your employer is paying for you. In that context, you spend 80% of the time actually doing output generating work, and 20% of your time on doing things that are going to help you learn, and there prioritize, of course, learnings which will help you grow in that context in your career. And that's what you know your manager, your company, they're also expecting similar things. And in bigger companies, that's even sort of formalized, that you have learning times you can take. So the very recent company that I was in, it's Target, which is it's a big MNC, like one of those FANG companies. So it's a huge employee workforce. So they have very formalized structures for that. So they have something called 50 days of learning. So you can take 50 days time every year. Those 50 days, you don't have to actually produce any work. You don't need to check in that day to meetings, and you don't need to mark off things on Jira that day. 50 days, any you can take it in bunch, you can take it independently as well. And those days you learn something. Obviously, you contextualize that to how that would be useful at work, and you sort of also write down some notebooks about what you learned and all, and then help your other friends at work as well with what you have learned, share that knowledge as well. So that's within the work time 80-20. But then apart from that, I think you should have some separate time for yourself as well, where you are learning, not necessarily confined to exactly what you're working on, but in terms of a larger career goal that you might have, or in terms of a personal development goal that you have, that these things I need to learn to do excel in life, to become a better person. Take time out for that as well. So yeah, I mean, probably whatever time you're working, if you make it 100 is a value for how much you're working. You put 60 more for extra time that you spend on your learning, and then you sort of that becomes this 80 and 80 in that sense.
Got it. Got it. So basically, Arnav, you're saying that the line is drawn sort of in broadly the 80-20, either by yourself, or sometimes your company draws the line for you and says, here's the line, take X number of days, such as the example that Arnav said. So hopefully sort of that answers your curiosity. But I saw that Bhavik was, smiling away while Arnav, you're saying 80-20, which probably indicates that Bhavik, you have some of your own sort
No,
of stories around
I
what
actually
you've seen.
realized there is also one philosophical thing that needs to come in place to actually do that really effectively, which is picking what you want to learn. I realized early on that I can either look at what people want me to learn or what I see other people learning and get FOMO and try to replicate that. And the more non-aligned it is to your own interests, the harder you will find to take out that time in a very organic manner and carve out that time and use it. The moment you pick topics or subjects that you actually are genuinely interested in, it also becomes really easy.
And I think we have technical issues in Bangalore that have led to a blackout in Bhavik's house, which is I've had 6 calls with him today, but only during the YouTube live this has happened. So maybe let's switch to the next question, and then we'll find Bhavik again. We found in the list of questions, Arnav, as we were going through, thank you for your question, Saurabh. Something that people wanted to get very tactical advice, right? And the question is, if you list down some tools that you use to be more productive,
Right.
to manage your time, what are some of those? And also, I would like to add the nuance. Are there nuances, for example, which have come up as you change the tools as you grow in your career?
Understood. So this is a important question, and I want to take up one very important point out of this. And when I started my first company, and I ran coding blocks for 4 years, and I was a very young founder, straight out of college, and uh, hired people. Some initially, they were just juniors from my own college, then much more senior people as well. And sort of productivity tools was always something like, obviously, it has to come top down. So as a founder, you set up some structure. How do you do productivity tools? When it is 5 people, you don't need a tool. What your WhatsApp group is the tool. then as that increases, then you start having like proper responsibilities as a tech lead,
Arnav,
as a
just
technician.
one
Yeah, yeah.
very important interjection is having a power backup also a very important productivity tool that you would advise Bhavik to have.
Apologies.
Oh, I would actually, by the way.
Upstate.
My Wi-Fi router runs on backup power. So, like, if I have a power cut, my internet does not go off because of that. And
Very nice.
half the meetings are a waste of time. You have to do that whole meeting all over again sometime later.
Indeed.
But
Guilty
sorry
as
for the
charged.
interjection. You were talking about the tools in a more serious way, so we'll let you get to it.
Right. Yeah. So coming back there. So about tools, and then like I said, so as we grew and as we realized that productivity tools. So first of all, just for project management itself, like task tracking, etc. When team size is 30, not 5, then you need tools to keep track of them. And then one pitfall that I have seen, especially like if you are the one who's deciding what tool to be used, right, whether personally or for your team, people fall into this shiny new thing syndrome for tools as well. Like they try out Asana, then they try out Basecamp,
Hmm.
then they try out Dropbox, and then there's so many tools, and every tool has a lot of beautiful features. Which one is to one, you won't get an exact copy of the same set of features in another tool. And you would say, okay, I want this A feature from this tool, B feature from this tool, and there was this productivity tool called Flow. So the founder of that tool actually wrote a very long blog post once that he got so fascinated by any.do and I think Wunderlist and all that he started creating his own productivity tool. And then he realized that, after running that company for 4 or 5 years, he was not destined to make a productivity tool. He just personally loved tinkering with productivity tools so much. He wasted 4 years of his life building an actual company, which he raised funds and he made his own competitor for Wunderlist and any.do. Finally shut it down because he realized that that's not his calling in life. Now, here, coming back to actually answering the question properly, is that um, the tool should be the second thing. It should be the answer. First, it should be like, first you have to answer that what mental framework do you need, first of all? Like, where is the issue? Is the issue in keeping track of things? Is the issue in compartmentalization? Is the issue in responsibility management? Or is the issue in sort of creating a list of tasks that needs to be done, whether you need a stack of it, whether you need a queue of it, whether you need to, sort of do a LIFO or a FIFO of the tasks and all of that. Figure that out, and then you go and try to find out a tool that will help. I would say start off with something like, something like just a notepad, right? And after going through a lot of tools, I came to an understanding is that every day when I wake up, I just use actual physical notebook and pen, right? I have to say notebook, I have to prefix physical these days. Notebook means so many things. There's digital notebooks, laptops are called notebooks. And then I just do that, quadrant myself for every day is that, if it is important and urgent, then you do it. If it is, important but not urgent, then you delegate it. If it is urgent but not important, then if it's neither important nor urgent, then you just put it off for later or you don't do it. Right. So defer, delegate. So, but that's something I do. Like that I do it every day. I just wake up and okay, today these are the things that I need to do. Put it on my notebook, and then I figure that okay, there are 8 things to do. I can divide probably two to two like that, and which two I need to pick up. Every day you will feel like you have 7, 8 things to do, and you will actually have the time to do only 2, 3 of them. Um, but that said, about tools, people would be probably looking at this and expecting some, tips kind of answer as well. And obviously, not sponsored by anyone, but I'm a big fan of any.do, by the way, which is tool like after going through many of them, I felt like, for personal task management, the tool as simple as it is, that's better. I have gotten attracted to a lot of features in a lot of tools, and finally I realized that any.do is a very nice tool for me. It just is a simple list of tasks. It does not have too many features, and I really love that.
Got it. So you basically said that tool comes next. The first thing is your mental model and to identify the issue. And then of course there are lots of tools and you've seen your own set and you have a particular preference. But you're saying that is it fair to say, Arnav, that getting too deep in tools can actually also be counterproductive to
Yes.
productivity?
Yes, definitely.
Sure.
That itself can be a pitfall, trying to find out the tool.
Got it. Got it. Got it. No, I think I'd love to get Bhavik in on this one because while he's not expecting this question, and I don't know if his network is there, maybe he's actually not there. Is he still live?
Can you
I
guys hear me?
don't think so. We can hear you, yes. So I think just a add-on question, Bhavik, there. You have had a lot of tools that you use, and at work, people have noticed that you have some secret recipes to control the amount of Slack pollution that you get.
Yeah.
Uh, so how do you manage how do you manage things like Slack pollution and screen time and social media and all of that together when you're on so many screens all the time at the same time?
Yeah, that's a good one. I've struggled with that one for a while. Uh, in general, we have so many fronts to be active on these days. There's your professional front where you're working on Slack or email or whatever you're doing. There's your personal life, your social media, bunch of stuff to manage. Uh, I think just philosophically, it's very important to compartmentalize, as Arnav said earlier, right? You compartmentalize spatially, and you compartmentalize in terms of your schedule. I will not try. I will try to not use Instagram when I'm in my workspace. If I need to use Instagram, I'll be outside on the couch lying down, sipping some coffee. So just spatial compartmentalization is really helpful. After that, I think with things like Slack, these are just rabbit holes you'll get into. And you will suddenly find 2 hours have disappeared. So there are some hacks around that which I don't try to create myself. Again, waste of time. I want to manage my time. I usually just go search what do power users of this tool, usually do, and you can pick up some very nice hacks from there. And then it's all about customizing whatever hacks work well for you. So that's really helpful. I think having visibility to data really helped me. So the moment I shifted to an iPhone where there's a very easy tracking of your time, it was an eye opener. You're using so much time on certain apps. So now whenever a certain app's usage goes above a certain limit, I delete it. Even if I'm in the middle of a game where I've reached some very advanced stage, I will delete that app. I will detox myself from it for the next 1 month or so until I feel comfortable going back to it. So you got to be a bit ruthless with stuff like that. Otherwise, I think you just keep it super simple, right? It's the same philosophy as Arnav's. Even when it comes to using which app do you choose, you try to keep it super simple. I've gone through using 10 apps, trying out different features, ended up in the most basic note-taking bullet app called Workflow. So I think 3 takeaways here. Don't try to recreate the wheel. Go online, check what power users do, and understand what of that you want to adopt in your space. Secondly, be very cognizant of data. A lot of phones these days help you track how much time you spend.
And there are a lot of power cuts in the city of Bangalore as well. So back to you, Arnav. This is the second time I think
No, actually, I
it's a
will.
really
I can. That was a very good point about that digital detox thing. Actually, Bhavik was saying, and I sort of add to that, do a plus one to that is these screen time tracking and all has been very useful, I would say. Um, I think they don't sort of help you reduce screen time, anything that sort of guilty call. You have to do it yourself still. But at least that gives you that guilt. At least that's the step that it comes around to it. And yeah, I mean, one of the other things is also I have felt is that reducing notifications helps a lot. So with both iOS and Android these days, I've seen that most apps have a very fine-grained notification preference. And if you remove some of the ones that you don't really need notifications about, notifications have this, medically, if you talk to any psychiatrist and all, they will also tell you that if your phone is lying around and a notification comes, that gives you a certain set of anxiety that I need to check what has
Mm.
happened. That distraction layer is there. So reduce those notifications there. Uh, do you really need an app for everything? Sometimes there are certain things that if you just go to the website and use it, that's better. And then the website does not send so many notifications. It's not so easy to open it as well, which are frictions that automatically come out of that. So do that. I think that's another solution out there. But you have to take some steps like that. Like you have to sort of fight with yourself on those things. And mobile devices are very distracting, to be very honest. and sometimes things which are classified as work, like sometimes Slack could be distracting as well, right? So I also prefer some work blocks, etc. So there are deep work periods I have. Like I have this Friday Wednesday model where I was just saying that these 2 days I'm just really deep down I'm working. So during that period, I actually don't keep the mobile near me, right? And that's fine. I mean, if it's like my mom or dad have to call me, they have the landline number. They can just call me if that's that level of emergency. But
You have a
otherwise, I'm not
landline?
contactable. Yeah.
Let that be
Actually,
the
not a part of
title.
our generation.
The title of this video has to change. It has to be "Time Management Secret is equal to own a landline, get rid of your phone," featuring Arnav Gupta. You'll get funding for this, Arnav.
Right. Could be true. But that helps. Like just keep away your mobile, and this time I'm just working, and then that helps a lot, I would say.
Got it. Got it. No, very helpful. I think Bhavik shared his recipes on tracking screen time, Slack pollution. You shared that. I want to take a question. I think Lakshya has a point. Ankit, Notion is a great tool. Actually, Arnav once walked me through his YouTube insights using Notion, so it's definitely a great tool. Lakshya has a question, and Bhavik, love for you to take that.
Mhm.
What's your routine at home? How many hours do you work? You obviously work some 17 and a half hours, is what I know. And Lakshya finds it hard to sit for long durations. You're clearly sitting right now since early morning for long durations. So, what are your recipes and hacks for sitting and working for long periods of time?
Yeah, fingers crossed, no more electricity outages. Hopefully, I get through this answer without dropping off. Interesting question. I think, look, let me split this into two parts, right? One is how many hours do you work, which is very subjective, a function of a bunch of things. I can share one general philosophy there. And then some hacks around what do you do if you have to work that many hours, right? I think, firstly, how many hours do you work? This would sound like a preachy philosophy, but I honestly have always subscribed to work as much time as it takes to get the job done efficiently. So, A, you want to get it to a certain outcome. And of course, you want to get it to a certain outcome efficiently, right? After a point, if you're completely dead, you have no more intellectual capacity left, then it's obviously wiser to just shut shop, recharge, come back. Otherwise, if you still have energy, I'll go as long as it takes for me to get stuff done that I've signed up for or that I've signed myself up for. I've always hated just counting hours. Uh,
Hmm.
it's not efficient. I think you're solving for outcome. You're not solving for activity. One of my favorite managers had this dialogue he used to always tell me, which was we often mistake activity for outcome, and that always stuck with me. Right. So you're not solving for activity. He used to say, "Activity ka paisa nahi milta." So
It's
that's
like
just
the favorite
philosophy.
line. It's like one of your favorite lines, if I may interject, where you've told me often on call that, Yash, you're moving along. There is a lot of distance, but I don't think there is displacement.
Yeah, that one's maybe a little more controversial. I'm sure I did not say it in that tone,
I'm
but yeah,
kidding. You've used the
yeah. I think outcomes are metric to track for uh, outcomes smartly, not in terms of number of hours, but whatever gets me to that fastest. If getting me to that fastest is me taking 6 hours off, getting some sleep, and coming back, then do that, right? I think for now, once you know how much time you have to work, or once you know what outcome you're solving for, then it's about solving for getting to it most efficiently. And everyone knows that after a point, doing the same thing, sitting in the same place, gets inefficient. So some hacks for that are, I try to periodically just get up, displace myself, go to another part of the house, interact with people around me, have a quick chit chat, some banter. It really helps refresh you. Going out in the balcony, get some fresh air, drinking a sip of coffee, listening to some great music. It's good to compartmentalize even your free time, right? Get those 15 minutes out, do something that energizes you. I know for Yash, that's some spine breaking yoga. So he solves for that. For me, it's maybe music in a hot shower. I solve for that. But solve for those pockets. What you'll realize is you're not going to win in the long run if you're not taking any breaks. You'll be very tempted to sprint, but you have to take those breaks out. And what frequency they're at varies person to person. I know there are fans of the Pomodoro technique where people are like, 20 minutes
Mhm.
kaam karo, 10 minutes go, relax, then come back. Doesn't work for me, works for a lot of other people. So what is the amount of time you want to take a break for and at what frequency is for you to best discover for yourself. But important to do that. Definitely important to do that. I think there are very few instances in life where you can't afford a 5-minute break if it helps you become more productive.
Got it. So you're encouraging Laksha to follow some rhythms and discover your own thing. Laksha, just one thing. I don't know if you sit for long periods of time in one go or not, but sitting is, in fact, according to some studies, the new smoking. So you should definitely take breaks physically while moving your hands and legs every 40 to 60 minutes. Because I have seen coders bend further and further and further into their laptop. And Arnav right now is bending forward to answer this question. So I guess the next question is very, very relevant for you, Arnav. Sleep is known to be a valuable thing. How much does a software engineer need to sleep? But before you answer that, Suraj, I just want to probably also add, I don't think sleep discriminates between whether you're a software engineer or not. It's probably the same kind of thinking you have to apply for all humans. So sleep is necessary. More so for software developers, perhaps because you work more at night. But Arnav, your tips and hacks.
Right. Actually, just coming to Suraj's question before that, Lakshya's question, one thing to add, probably if you can set up a working desk setup also as an alternate to a sitting one, that really helps a lot. I have two setups at home. So actually, one of the setups I have because I also shoot these YouTube videos. So because of that, I have a standing setup. And there are days where I spend the entire day on the standing setup. It really helps a lot. And even the sitting one, I feel that ergonomics are sort of important. I have been able to sit for much longer periods of time after I got this gaming chair, which I very recently got. Before that, there was another chair which is not so comfortable, and then I used to feel like not working after a time sitting in that kind of a setup. So comfort is obviously very important. And then obviously you can talk to doctors, and they will also tell you the very same thing that body posture and all those things are sort of very important in that. Coming to Suraj's question, how much sleep is enough? Actually, one part that probably I don't think that it is about software developers or not. It's about your circadian cycle as well. It's important that you identify that don't go with what everybody else is doing. Maybe all of your friends are more active and more productive at night. Maybe you are not. So ask yourself that honest question as well. Maybe you are. That what's a good productive time for you? And it could be a lot of factors. It could be that at certain time of the day there is certain kind of disturbance in terms of noise or people displacing you out of your room because somebody is sweeping the room, cleaning the room, fan has to be turned off. Those kind of things. So around that, what's a period where you can set out 2 3 hours of good deep work kind of time. Those kind of things are important, and according to that set up your sleep cycle. Some people I know have seen the advantage of sleeping 4 hours at two different times of the day. That helps a lot of people. Some Most people do obviously sleep in one shot the entire time. uh, what generally people say is that 8 hours is a good time. uh, One thing I will simply say is that don't cut down on sleep at all. I have had periods where I have done that, and then like after doing it for 7 8 days, not sleeping adequately, like every day sleeping say 1 hour less, that fatigue adds up, and then suddenly on Sunday I crash and I'm sleeping for 20 hours, right? Those kind of cycles, if those happen, they are not good for your body, right? And then you would reach by the time you have gotten to Friday, you would not notice, but that small 1 hour fatigue of every day has added up. And Friday, you're not able to concentrate on anything at work at all. You're looking at that when I will crash. Your body is looking at that. You're not consciously even thinking about it that I need to crash for 20 hours, but your body is yearning for that at that point. Right. So putting that time in place is sort of good. If possible, one hack that I have found out is very good is sort of go to sleep at a certain time that the next morning or like whenever you're going to be waking up, it is not tied to a like say 9 a.m. you have a meeting and you want to sleep for 8 hours. Don't go to sleep at 1 at night. That exactly 8 hours will finish. There's an alarm that will wake you up at 9. Probably go to sleep at 11 or 12, right? So that you don't need an alarm to get you out of your sleep. So that you can wake up sort of automatically when your body is ready to wake up. Keep a buffer on that side, because the worst thing that happens is if you wake up very groggy, you wake up in one of your bad REM cycle modes where you just wake up and you're not able to zone into work for the first 5 6 hours of the day. So it's better that you wake up when your body is really ready, rather than you have to. Sometimes 1 a.m. you will push to 3 a.m. Then you go to sleep at 3 a.m. Then at 9 a.m. when you wake up, you're not ready to wake up. So keep enough buffer for your sleep. So schedule it accordingly.
Got it. So I think lots of tips and tricks there. You can do 4+4, 1+7. Actually, not 1+7, 7, 8, and then keep the buffer, Surat, so you'll be fine. Just taking the next question, and I think so far good. We've discovered routine at home, sleep, ergonomics, how to be productive, how to manage time. I think we're moving closer towards more work-related topics beyond just time management, closer to productivity. And Nikhil there has a question very similar to time management productivity, which is very tactical, but I think it's important around the dual monitor setup. If you do use it, yes or no, then what's on that screen? I don't. I think Arnav does. I think Bhavik does. Maybe Bhavik, you want to start because I saw your setup where you had this table where I think
Yeah.
all you could see was screen one, screen two, and then the fan above.
I've been tempted to expand to more screens, but I've held back. No, I think for me personally, look, it depends on the kind of work you do. But I'm guessing it's very similar for coders as it is for me. Uh, Splitting your screen up into two different elements is super useful for different kinds of work. First work is when you're doing analysis, where you need to look at two different views, either of the same thing or of different things, and you need to quickly absorb different kind of information. For that, I personally find dual screen setups to be super awesome, uh, because I hate the loss of productivity when you're doing that alt tab again and again. So very convenient that way. I think the second type of activity which it is really helpful for is very tactical nonsense where you're doing copy pasting or you're doing very brute force comparisons, things like that. The third kind of thing which I love using a dual screen setup for is when I'm multitasking, which is either I am, maybe doing a meeting and quickly corresponding with someone on something that's urgent, whether it is I'm doing less mind intensive work on my main screen while Manchester United's match is going on the side screen on mute. So I don't have that FOMO which distracts me usually. So again, solving for productivity, I know I can't resist watching it. So let me solve for having it there while I'm doing my main work. I think it solves for all kinds of things, right? Whether it's intense work, whether it's very tactical work, or whether it's more casual work where you're trying to multitask, right? So I'm a big fan of dual screen setups. Uh, Again, solve for the kind of work you're doing. I found that when I switch to them, I'm more productive. I'm not wasting time in all tabs. I'm not wasting time in getting distracted outside my control. So I control my distractions on my second screen. That really helps. What do I do on the second screen? Usually, my main screen is where I want most of my focus to be. My small screen is where I want to see stuff either periodically, but not continuously, or where I need to do some kind of comparative analysis. Then it's easier to decide what's on the other screen. That's at least my hack. Arnav, is there a more coding nuance to this?
I mean, very detailed answer coming in here. I think very, very technical answer. So I'll just give you a quick overview of my desk
Anecdotal,
as well.
perhaps.
So this is what my desk look like, and this sort of triple monitor
Wow.
setup. I'll tell you. I'll explain what. So this is the vertical monitor which I usually use for the code here, and then more code can be displayed together. So that's why I have that. So generally, actually, these two are my work setup. So this is the laptop on which I have Slack and email and then communication stuff open, and this is where I work. So this is how I sort of differentiate between that generally what I'm on a day-to-day basis. What's happening is that I am having to look at a lot of code, either writing or reviewing somebody's code, and then that stuff, which is basically like the tech work, that happens on the screen. And the laptop screen is sort of like a background distraction kind of a thing, that where okay, if some ping comes on Slack, if a meeting is supposed to start, so the Zoom meetings, the communication stuff, all that happens there. I have to quickly revert to an email without sort of going away from the context of what code and all I was writing. So I do that. The other screen, that is actually what I think Bhavik was saying, like if you have to follow the match or something like that. So that's actually connected to my personal computer. That's not connected to my work. But if I have to sort of take a little break where I'm having some snacks and watching a quick maybe informational video on YouTube or something like that, or reading of some article and stuff like that. So I do it on that screen. So that screen is actually entertainment screen, and I don't use that for work purposes. Apart from that, like I said, that if there are days where I am actually going to be doing super deep tech work and not doing communication at all. So those days I actually just unplug my laptop and I just take my laptop in my lap and I just work on that one screen. So that day there is no background stuff, no multitasking happening. Just code is open and I'm just coding on that. So that on those days, no two monitors, just the laptop screen. So that's how my setup works.
I
Evolved
think
over a long time.
I think Arnav, you have a house of monitors. I think there's more monitors there than there are anything else in that part of the room, which looks amazing. I'm going to buy some of these, I think, even though I don't code. Uh, but no, very interesting to see so many monitors. I just have one screen right now, a small ThinkPad. Uh, being mindful of time, I'll quickly pick a few more questions, maybe just a couple of more or one last. Atharv, to your question on, is all of DSA used in industry? Having talked to a lot of engineers, even though I'm not all of it is used. Depending on the job, some of it is more relevant than the others. We can definitely do more live sessions to go deeper in that. I know Arnav is itching to speak, but I will stick to topic. I think VCode, your question has come out again, which is you're an SDE intern and your whole day gets by just doing internship work, DSA problems, and then you have to explore Android too. So how should you manage your time? There's probably a general answer and there's a specific answer. Maybe Arnav, you can start with a specific answer, and then Bhavik, you can add some general principles on it for WeCode, who I don't know the name of, but glad to hear the question.
Right. So I think I will try to be concise on the specific answer. It's I think very simple. Is that whole day gets going is sort of think the unit of compartmentalization. How to put it is that can you compartmentalize at an hour basis? Can you compartmentalize at a day basis? Or would it be like weekday weekend kind of divide? And you have to answer that question. That can you efficiently say that today 5 hours I will work, 2 hours I will spend on learning? Is that something that works for you? Right? The answer depends on whether you'll be able to honestly stop working at 5 hours and then start that learning part at the 2 hours. And is 2 hour a good enough single chunk of time? Maybe for learning, whatever you're learning right now, Android development to start with, maybe 2 hours, it takes that kind of time to set up your project environment and also 1 hour, and then only 1 hour is left to learn something. Probably having a 5 hour block for learning is more efficient than having a 2 hour block of learning. Maybe that's the case. So in that case, you can't do a 5+2 split on the day. Then let's think of a day-wise split. That okay, 4 days, let's say out of the week, let's say 4 days I will spend on doing the work of my internship, right? And here is what most of your managers, whoever you're reporting to, they are not going to ask that whether you did the work on Thursday or on Friday. They will ask that this week you had these tasks to do, whether it was completed or not, right? They're not going to get into the nitty gritties of how you did or not. So, think it out. Maybe you have to work for 7 hours instead of 6 hours for Monday to Thursday, so that your task gets done on Monday to Thursday. Friday you spend on learning. Maybe Saturday, Sunday you have for something else. Or if you want to spend the weekend also on learning. So either you do the compartmentalization either day wise or do it on hour wise. Find out what works for you and what you can stick to, right? And then follow that. But creating that hard boundary that this is like on my timetable, the time right now is on learning, so I will spend it on learning. I will not do it. Don't let one of the compartments overflow into the other one. So that I think, and then anything at a broader level, I think up to Bhavik, like how do you again divide time into sort of working plus learning?
And maybe while you're doing that, Bhavik, also take on the last question with the nuance of very, very relevant question from Chirag, which is how do you deal with, of course, time management, but also the fact that there's a lot of stressful notifications from people in need, given the COVID situation. Are there any specific ways to manage stress and time and productivity together that you use? And maybe that's the last question that we can cover before people actually can manage the rest of their Friday night time and not get bored by us.
Yeah. Firstly, apologies again, electricity outage. I've not lost electricity in a week, but today's live, we suddenly lose it 3 times. It's incredible. Cool. So, sorry, what was the first question that Arnav redirected? I can quickly address that, and then I can take Chirag's question.
So the question there was that we have VCode, who's a SD intern at a startup and ends up doing a lot of internship work, DSA problems, wants to explore Android as well. So too many priorities. How to manage time?
Interesting. I think we've addressed a lot of kind of prioritization before. One thing which I think it's worth touching upon, because I also learned it in recent years. I didn't know it earlier, and once I started trying to implement it, it turned out to be a decent game changer. Was something which Yash does very well, which is identify parts of your day which are optimum for certain type of task. Which is, if your mornings are creative, use it for that. If your afternoons are analytical, use it for that kind of work. If your evenings are lazy, that's where you slot your free time. I think also understanding when your personal rhythms, allow you to do certain types of work better is really helpful. Maybe that's a hack which people can use. I've been trying to do it and it's helped. For me, for example, creative work is actually early evening. For Yash, it's morning. Doesn't make sense to replicate it, but the philosophy of identify what is creative work time is really helpful. To the other question, which is around, how do you manage stress in COVID times? Honestly, it's really tough these days, right? There will be work stress, there will be stress in your own personal life if someone's unwell. There will be friends who you want to help out, and then there will be broader community negativity, which you have to face and you have to acknowledge, and you have to find ways to deal with it. I think one thing that I try to do, not always very successfully, but try to do is stay informed, and wherever there are ways I can help out at whatever small level, try to do that. I don't think it helps, putting blinders on and acting like nothing's wrong with the world. It's actually helpful to acknowledge it and then find ways in which you can react or contribute to it. That's super important. Whether it's engaging with just your small community, your neighbor, your building, or whether you want to do it at a broader platform, it's helpful to acknowledge and do whatever you can. It also leaves you, in a slightly better mental space. I think one thing which most people don't publicly acknowledge or use as openly is, look, there will be times in your life where there is high levels of stress or anxiety, and it would be helpful to talk to someone, right? We end up bottling up too much. One thing which I try to tell as many people as I can is, if you're in a bad space mentally, acknowledge it, and there's no harm in getting professional help. Talk to a therapist, talk to a counselor. Some of those conversations are game changers, right? They can help you think through your own thoughts and acknowledge some of your own constraints or issues that you're creating for yourself, and help you energize yourself and channel that energy in a way that is most helpful. A lot of times I've seen friends as well as myself go into a rabbit hole of negativity where it's really hard to pull yourself out of, right? You can't stand in a bucket and lift up the bucket. You need sometimes someone else to come and help you lift that up. So I think, to sum it up, one is acknowledge that there are issues in the world and try to find ways in which you can contribute to it. Second is look for external help wherever required. There's no harm in it. There's no shame in it. It's very important. And I think those two are my hacks for it.
Awesome. I think helpful for all of us in a very tricky time. We'll now sort of let me wrap up. I think Athar, Sanjay, Rishikesh, Shrikant, and Bharani, there's a Discord link that we will share. It's in, I think, the video description as well. But we'll share it.
So we will add that to the video description, and probably you can drop it in the comments as well. So I mean, just to everybody who asked a lot of tech questions as well, and I completely understand, like, that's primarily what kind of content that usually is on our channel as well. But we really wanted to take up this topic because we got a lot of questions on Discord from our Scalar alumni as well about the time management piece. And then I'm sure that after all the discussion we had, this is going to be a lot of value to add here. But yes, definitely, if you have any tech questions, and many of the questions that you have asked, some of those topics, we plan to have more such live sessions on tech topics as well in YouTube. But apart from that, definitely join our Discord channel. It's a very strong community that we have been building on Discord. And lots of people, like Abhimanyu is one of the co-founders at Scalar. He's very active. I'm very active. There are Scalar stars who are like ex Scalar alumni who are achieving like great stuff in life. So they are also very, very active out there, and you would find different perspectives out there on Discord as well for these tech questions. Definitely go there. There are some specific channels as well, like for example, Android specific questions or Node.js specific questions. There are some data structures algorithms. There are specific channels also on that. So would love to see all of you guys on Discord with these questions as well. And we'll try to set up more sessions to sort of answer more core technical questions as well sometime for sure.
Awesome. No, thank you, Arna, for the save. I think for the rest of us who are here, I would like you to enjoy your Friday night, and thank you so much for attending our live session. The only thought I'll leave you with is that if you're thinking time management, there is no right answer, but there are wrong answers, and the wrong answer is following somebody else's right answer in a blind way. So I think the summation of everything we've said is you find a style that works for you and just follow that. That's most important, right? Tool, other style, schedule, blog, none of that matters more than what works for you. So I hope you manage your time well next week, and over this weekend again, manage time for both manage stress and have fun. Thank
And
you so
don't
much for
waste too
attending
much
live.
time finding a solution for this.
Yeah. Why we go and manage our own end of day. Thank you so much, and I would love to meet you guys in the next one, and we can do other topics on soft skills, tech topics, anything you like. Please comment here on this video or send us a text on Discord. We'll be sure to cover that in our regular live sessions. Thank you so much. Thanks,
Awesome.
Arnav.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Bobby.
everyone.
Okay, thank you.